O- Okay, we are back in Pirkei Avot, and we are in chapter 4. In my edition, it's going to be verse 20. In your edition, it's verse in the Safari edition, it's verse 15. As I mentioned, the numbering of the Mishnahs varies from edition to edition. I happen to think this so far, this is the best one yet. So I'm going with that. If you happen to have the current edition, if you happen to have this one, it's on page 108. So we left last time with Rabbi Matya ben Harash, whose grave I saw for the first time the very day that he came up last week. Um, and he says, Have makti b'shalom kol adam, be the first to give a greeting to anybody, and then the zanav la'ariot says, be a tail to lions, but alti rosh l'shwalim, and don't be the head to foxes. So, as I mentioned, the dividing up of these mishnahs is sometimes a little weird. So I suspect that we probably want to put Leve Magdim B'Shalom Kol Adam, that we want to put and greet every person first, maybe with the last Mishnah, or at least it's influenced by the last Mishnah. Because the last Mishnah said, it's not in our power to explain either the tranquility of the wicked, right, or the oh yes, I I talked about putting it in chat, but then I didn't do it. So that's not good. Okay, there it is. Okay. Um, so it talked about not being able to that we're never going to understand the tranquility of the wicked or the suffering of the righteous. Um, and then our very next Mishnah says we should greet everybody with, you know, greet everybody. Uh, we should be the first one to say shalom, the first person to greet somebody with peace. They could conceivably they could be related in the sense that, look, we can't really understand, we look at the people around us, we see some people are doing well and some people are doing badly. And we have our estimation of who we think they are. We think this person is good, we think this person is bad, we think this person's got a bad break, we think this person's got too lucky a break. But really, we have to treat everybody, we have we still have to give everybody shalom, right? We have to wish everybody shalom. Whatever it is that we think, however it is we understand the other person's situation, and even if we don't understand why they're suffering or why they're happy or any of those things, still the way that we deal with people is to wish them shalom. Um, uh, otherwise, it seems to be kind of hanging here. Um, but nevertheless, it's good advice. And as I said, it's actually three times, I think, in Pirkei Avot, we're given the same advice, to always be the first person to greet somebody. So I highly suggest I try to do that as much as possible. Um, I live in a neighborhood where there are a lot of Russians, and there's a lot of Russians, and my synagogue has old Russian people who stay there all day, and they walk around the neighborhood. And um, I'm always the first to greet them, and they always look at me like I'm completely crazy.
I
So
can attest to that.
yeah, there's something
They
about it.
stand there
It's
and judge you.
it's just not like a Russian thing. The Russian thing is just kind of look grumpy and to walk past each other. But in any case, I do it anyway. Okay, so to be a tail to lions rather than a head to foxes. What do we think that means? I gave you a whole week to figure that one out.
Something about humility.
To be a tail, well, certainly to be a tail to something is definitely.
Like, and then I think I was,
Hmm.
I think I poked around about it and something about the fox. I know I cheated a little. Something about the fox being cunning. So, like, is it sincere? I don't know. Well, you hold the answer, but
Well, I hold the answer. Oh, who says I hold the answer?
yeah, I don't know. I have no answers. I only have
So what do
questions.
you think? So what do you think?
Well, I was thinking, so the fox is a cunning animal, so
Okay.
it's and kind of a trickster, potentially deceptive with its charm.
Okay.
So you should be the tail in that way. So you be on the back end, so you can kind of,
Well, better be
I don't
to
know,
be a tail to lions and a head to foxes. So lions are at least mythologically what are lions?
powerful.
Right. Powerful,
Yeah.
right? Straightforward, right? Leaders, king of the jungle, all that stuff, right? So, right? So to be a tail to lion, so to be with people, right, who are, this is if you watch Turkish dramas, everybody says Aslan, right? Makes lion, right? That's, Aslanlar, right? Everybody is to be called a lion is a very big, this is to be called a very big thing. Um, so the so better to be humble, right? To be humble and to be a follower of people who are worthy, right? Of people who are leaders, of people who are brave, of people who, so forth, than to be the head of a group of foxes, right? Than to be the head of the fox and to be the head of people who are kind of clever. And I think, this is, I think, part of a theme in Pirkei Avot that really does talk. We had talked before about, don't exile yourself to a place where there's no Torah and so forth. You should put yourself in a place where we're going to be surrounded by people who are healthy. And I think this is advice that Pirkei Avot gives in several places. That the environment that we find ourselves and the people who we hang out with have a big influence on us, right? They have a huge influence on what we become. If we hang out with foxes, I think shualim, I'm not sure they're foxes. They could also be jackals. I have a book about all these ancient Hebrew animals. If I remember correctly, I think shualim are actually jackals. Okay, so they're also kind of scavengers too. So, um, so you don't want to hang around with people like that.
I really want to kind of emphasize lion prides are matriarchal. So did in this phrasing, did, was this noted
Yeah, well,
as,
the whole mythology of lions and the whole symbolism of lions is all a little bit messed up, I have to say, right? There's, the Shulchan Aruch says that you should rise like a lion to serve your creator. Now, I don't know if you've ever
and
watched
they're not
lions.
thinking, yeah, sorry, go
Right,
on.
right. They are not really fast animals until they get fast. I mean, when they wake up, they just kind of roll over. And they're very slow to wake up. So I'm not sure exactly why it says that. So
No
I,
rising.
I feel like I feel like the symbolism of lions is a little bit off. Um, so I don't think these guys were thinking about the matriarchal thing, but better to be the tail to female lions than to be the head of jackals. Okay. Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Yaakov Omer, Rabbi Yaakov says, Ha'olam hazeh domeh leprosdor mifnei ha'olam haba. Says this world is like the antechamber to the world to come. And so so the prosdor, right? If obviously is if you it doesn't sound like Hebrew. It's a Greek word, and it means the antechamber of a house, the foyer. the foyer of a house when you come into a house, and and it says, what do you do? You say it says what does it says that you do? It says Hadken atzmecha leprosdor kadeh shikanes letraklin. It says you prepare yourself in the and in the foyer to enter into again traklin, another Greek word, meaning a banquet hall. And the rabbis all say this is a palace, right? So when you come into a beautiful home, into a mansion, right? You don't just rush into the banquet hall where the king is, right? You're going to a state dinner where the king is, right? You don't just rush into it. You come in, right? And you prepare yourself, right? You fix your shirt, you fix your tie, you fix your dress, right? You fix your hair, you make sure everything is, you know, nice and everything is nicely done. Put on your fancy sunglasses if you're Rose, right? You make yourself presentable, and then you go into the banquet room. So that's what this world is. This world is a place of preparation for the world to come. That where this is just the place to prepare ourselves. It's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is the world to come. The ultimate goal is the after party. But we're here to prepare ourselves. A beautiful image of what this world is for, right? That this world is a place of preparation, and also a beautiful description of the world to come as this kind of banquet hall. And that image of the world to come as a banquet occurs in other places in Pirkei Avot and other places too. And the descriptions of the Messianic times, right? Sometimes described as a gigantic banquet served. Imagine the world to come being this gigantic banquet where everybody sits and eats and watches the Ziv of the Shekhinah. They gaze at the light of the presence of God. Okay, so and now he expands on this idea. He expands on this idea. He says, "V'hu Omer." He used to say, excuse me, Yafa. Hold on, I'm going to clear my throat again. Hold on. Okay, I think that test worked. Sometimes my throat gets like that. It drives me crazy. Okay. He said, Yafeh sha'achad b'tshuva ma'asim tovim b'olam hazeh mikoach elam haba. He says, better 1 hour of repentance and good deeds in this world than all the life of the world to come. So we just said, oh, okay, this world is the foyer, is the place of preparation before we enter into the banquet hall. But that doesn't mean that it's unimportant, right? Because this is the place where you build, right? This is the place where you build your world to come. This is the place where you prepare yourself for the world to come, right? So the experience that you're going to have in that banquet hall is going to depend on what it is you do here in in the foyer. Is it foyer or foyer? I never do. Does anybody know?
I truly, it's
Foyer?
foyer.
Okay.
I,
Yep.
I've, I refrain from the
Okay.
word because I don't know. Okay.
Okay. So
It's foyer.
whatever you do in the entranceway in the foyer, then that's what's going to determine what's going to happen to you, the experience you're going to have in the banquet. And so this world, the fact that you can do teshuvah, that you can repent, and that you can do good deeds in this world makes this world, this is the sphere of our operation. This is why we're human. This is why we are human beings, right? This is why we are human beings. This is the place this is the place that this is the place that we're meant to be. Okay. Um, I saw a note from I mean, it says it's hard sometimes to wish peace even to the greatest tyrant of the earth. Remember, Moshe had to speak peacefully to Paro, and that's true, right? You see the dialogues between Moses and Paro. He was polite to him the entire time, right? Just goes to show, right? You can we can greet almost anybody with peace almost any time. Kalen, Kalen,
I was
you're
trying the function, but was also had a point that something about being in your classes has made me realize that we have this extrinsic, reward system that I didn't realize was prominent in Judaism. I thought that was something that was otherwise, but like, oh, we're doing this for so we can reap our rewards after this. And
well.
I kind of eschew that sometimes in my life.
Well,
Like,
I think he just anticipated your objection.
oh,
That
oh, good. Oh, very
so
good.
so that's kind of how I understand this next Mishnah. So I think he's kind of anticipating. He's saying, wait a second, wait. You're saying that this life is just sort of some, you know, this is just some prelude to something much more important, right? But now he answers you. Right? He answers you and he says, but 1 hour of repentance and good deeds in this world is, right, is worth more than the world to come. So we're not really, he's saying we're not really supposed to be focused on the world to come. The world to come is about a reward, right? Of
That's helpful.
which we
Yeah.
cannot control, right? We cannot control that. We have no business with that. Okay, we have no business with that. That's
That's what I'm
complete.
saying all day. I'm saying it's not for us to know.
Right. You're not going to, right. We can't know that. Okay. We can't know that.
Yeah.
So all we can do, right? All we can do is we can't worry about what's beyond that door, so to speak. And instead we have to say, we our business, right, is repentance and good deeds and doing the best we can in this world. And then he says, "Aha, yafa sha'achat shel korat ruach be'olam haba mikol ha'olam hazeh." He says, but one moment of pleasure, right, in the world to come is worth more than all the pleasures of this world. So he says, like, whatever it is that is beyond, we know that it's pleasurable. So we might think, okay, our whole purpose in this world is just to have pleasure, right? We're just here to, for sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So he says, if you think that, right, if you think that, you should understand that what awaits you or what potentially awaits you is much greater than that. So there's no, shouldn't be obsessed with those things in this world, but instead be concerned with doing the good things while you're here, because that's what's going to create your reward in the future. So not to be obsessed with the reward, but that to realize that you're going to be experiencing or potentially experiencing something much more pleasurable than anything that you could experience in this world. But it is very nice how this kind of forms almost a paradox. There's a sort of paradoxical kind of feel to that. Um, so what do we think?
I just find it
thoughts?
very challenging. I find that very challenging because I don't, I really took to heart like you do something anonymously, you do it just because you do it and in earnest, but in kindness and because you do it for no other reason. I like that premise about things. I don't really think about what's to come or if sometimes I get treats. My clients bring me fresh fruit and vegetables sometimes, sometimes I do, but I've never I just, I really can't even think that way. I don't like thinking that way. It feels a little dirty to me. I don't
Right.
know.
So you don't obviously listen, you know, elsewhere, right? Remember, I think it was in the first chapter. It says in Pirkei Avot, it says that you should serve, you shouldn't serve God like a servant looking for a reward, right? So to make the reward your, your main motivation, right, is not a good idea. But to know that the value of the reward, and to know also that like we think of pleasure in this world as being something which is like can be something which is very, very, very compelling. And that's not bad, right? That's not bad. That's called being human. It's not, there's nothing wrong with that. But also to understand that there's the possibility of a different kind of pleasure, right? He's a kayat ruach, a sort of like uh, uh, a coolness of the spirit, a kind of coolness of the spirit. It's a nice way of putting it. Okay, now we're just gonna have some good advice, some nice good advice. Okay, Rabbi Shimon ben
Maybe
Elazar
can
said,
I ask?
yes,
Sorry, go ahead. Can I ask a question?
yes.
So to Kaylin's point about like when we do good deeds or do good things, even if we don't do it with like a reward in mind, can you help us understand why there's still a feeling of like internal reward? Like why do we feel good if we help if we do something good for someone else?
Thank God for the dopamine, that oxytocin, that vasopressin, all those great neurochemicals that give us. We do have a kind of internal reward. We do have a kind of internal reward system. That's because it's to get us to do stuff, right? I mean, that unfortunately that internal reward system works both ways, right? It can also get us to do things which are not so great, right? Because we produce those same neurochemicals, for bad things as well as good things. They're kind of the reward system kind of works in both directions. Um, but that internal reward is said to get you to do that more, and it can work if it's properly oriented. I mean, one of the points to make also is that this is also an answer to the question of like, why is it, you know, so let's suppose I'm doing all the right things in this world, right? I'm doing all the right things in this world, and I'm not getting that nachat ruach. I'm not getting that pleasure. I'm not getting that. I'm one of those people, one of the righteous who are suffering. Like, what should I think? And so the answer here is that that's being saved for you because that's not what this place is for, right? This place, right? This anteroom, okay, is not the place where the banquet takes place. It's not the place. You can't expect, right? You can't expect thank yous and rewards for all the good things that you do in this world because it just doesn't work that way, which is bad news. I know. I'm sorry, I hate to deliver the bad news, but you knew that already, right?
Who doesn't? Everyone should know that and
Right, we
accept
all know
it.
that already.
Everyone should, but they do not. They do not. And then they like to list the things that they've done for you.
Right. No, I mean,
I'm sorry.
we all know that. We all know, oh, look at this. Wait, hold on. Rose, was that a Frida Kahlo mug?
Yes.
Oh, you are totally California now.
You're very cool. You're
That's
very
like
cool.
that's like top-notch California. Okay, that's you're that's LA all over. Okay,
Okay.
Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer. He says, I have to, okay, Al tiratzeh et chavercha b'shad kaso. Don't try to placate your fellow, right, your friend at the time of their anger. Okay, so there are a couple reasons for this, right? When somebody is pissed off, when somebody is really angry, don't try to calm them down for a couple of reasons. One is you're likely to make them more angry, and you're likely to make them say things which are stupid and that they shouldn't say, right? So somebody's angry, somebody's angry at their boss, right? They're angry at their boss. And they say to you, my boss is such a jerk, and so I can't believe. And you say, well, maybe you're misunderstanding. And he said, no, you don't understand. He's right. They're gonna double down, but also because they can't hear you. Okay, there's no point in it, right? At the moment that when a person, and of course we know that that's true, right? After your pulse hits about 90, right? Your your prefrontal cortex goes offline, your reptilian brain takes over, you turn into an alligator. Um, checking, right? You turn into an alligator, and there's no reasoning with you. So there's no point, right? There's no point in trying to talk somebody out of their anger, and when they're in the middle of it, right? Wait until they're done. So the second, "Al techenemehu b'sha'at shemeto muta lefanav," says, don't try to comfort him while his dead lies before him. Okay, when somebody is in new grief, right? When somebody is in new grief, don't try to comfort them. Don't try to comfort them when they're in new grief. When the dead person is still laying before them, when it's still fresh. And of course, I mean, obviously it's just referred to a dead person, but when a person has experienced any kind of tragedy, any kind of sadness, um, we often want it to be gone right away, right? We want to help people right away, and we want to make them feel better right away. But that's not always possible, and in trying to do that, we can really make them feel worse, and also make ourselves much less useful to them because they'll get the feeling like, well, you just don't understand, right? You don't get it. Like you're not feeling my pain, and I can't talk to you. So you want to be really careful that when a person is in pain, it's realize that in that moment of intense pain, that's not the time to try to comfort them. It may be the time to reflect their feelings and to say, you know, to you know, to say, to repeat back to them. They say, this is really killing me. It's really, I hear it's really killing you, really hurts. Right? You reflect what they're saying, but to try to take it away, to comfort it, to distract them, any of those things, those can all be dangerous. And Kaylin, of course, provide us with a quote um, in the chat. But this time she didn't tell us where it comes from. So I
I
do.
don't know, but it really doesn't. And if I get a group talking, it's about what
Right,
badly worded things people have said in their time of loss.
right. Oh my goodness. I the stupidest things I have ever heard anybody say have been at Shivas, at visiting people when they've passed away. Unbelievable, unbelievable things. Just people with very good intentions. Especially, I would have to say, religious people trying to be religious, right? There's nothing like somebody trying to be a theological, a theological wizard at the time that somebody passed away, you know, and well, God has his ways, and just shut up, really, please, just be quiet, because that's just not going to help right now. Eventually, that might be a discussion that you can have, but not, not at that moment. Okay. This is an interesting one. Al tishalo b'sha'at nidro. Don't question a person at the time of their vow. So a neder is a vow that a person makes, which establishes some practice or some prohibition as a commandment for them. So let's say I'm very angry. Okay, I'm very angry, and I say, I will never eat my wife's cooking again. Like, I don't know why you'd say that, but that example I think is actually given in the Talmud, so that's why I use the example. Okay, I will never eat my wife's cooking again, right? I'm angry at my wife. I will never eat her cooking again. That's it, right? Now, as my friend, what you probably want to say to me at that moment is, dude, uh, is that practical? Like, is that practical? Is that really anything to say? Like, what kind of stupid thing is that to say? Right? But if I now, so the rabbis being rabbinic, okay, being rabbinic, they give a technical answer to this as well. You see, if you say things like if you talk to a person at the time that they're making one of these vows, you could be giving them hints as to how to nullify that vow later, right? Because later they could go before three rabbis and say, "Oh, you know what? When I made that vow, I didn't know what I was talking about," and I said, and really it was not practical. So it's as if you're sort of giving a person like an out, which they shouldn't have because we have to take these things seriously, right? We have to take it seriously that when we swear to God that we're going to do something or not do something, right? We have to take that seriously. Um, or again, they're not going to hear you because the person who makes the vow does it in a moment of passion. Right? The person who makes the vow is doing it in a moment where they feel very strongly about something. And while you may know that they're not going to be able to do it, or you know that this is foolish or it's impractical, whatever it is, they're not going to be able to hear it. There's no benefit in talking to somebody and creating animosity at a moment when they're not going to be able to hear you. And then lastly, Al tishtadel rato b'sha'at kalkaloto says, don't don't try to see your friend. Don't try to see another person at the time of their uh he translates it as disgrace here, but at the time of their ruin, at the time of their ruin. Everybody has a bad time. And if you know somebody's having a bad time, sometimes what you want, okay, there are two motivations. Sometimes we have, what's that beautiful German word? Schadenfreude? Is that what it is? Schadenfreude? Like,
Schadenfreude.
right,
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude, right?
Schadenfreude.
Where we have take some kind of pleasure in seeing the
Not while
pain.
they're having Kummerspeck. All I have to say. That means grief bacon, which means emotional overeating.
Got
Go
it.
on.
Got it. I'll keep that in mind. By the way, Rose is our reg is our linguistic expert
Torpisch
in
Splunk.
German.
What's that one? Okay, sorry, go on.
Okay, well, we'll have German class afterwards. But unless you're having that weird emotion where you want to see somebody's downfall, some people like that, right? If it's a person, you get some sort of pleasure out of seeing somebody hurt. But the other one is just like maybe you want to do good. Like maybe you want to see somebody when, when they've really had something bad happen to them, but it's going to cause them embarrassment and it's going to humiliate them, right? You don't want to humiliate somebody, right? So if somebody just had something very bad happen to them, um, we say this in the hospital. Uh, I, I I had an aunt who went to the hospital when I was a little kid, and I loved this aunt so, so, so much, right? But I did not know that my aunt wore a wig, that she wore a wig, and that she wore a lot of makeup, and I didn't know anything about that about my aunt. And she did not want anybody to visit her in the hospital because she didn't want anybody to see what she looked like. Right? And I might think, oh, well, like I just want to see her. I'm being trying to do good. But like if that's a thing that's going to humiliate a person, like you don't want to humiliate a person. So if a person feels like so it's not up to you to figure out what their vulnerable moment is, right? I mean, you may not know, but if they tell you and you know that it's a vulnerable moment for them, then just keep away, right? Uh, don't don't come and try to see them. Okay, now we have a little expansion on this from Shmuel Hakatan and poor guy. His so there were two Shmuels, right? There was two Shmuels. One was named Shmuel, right? They always distinguish him as just Shmuel, Samuel, and then there's Shmuel Hakatan, which either means the younger or the smaller. Okay, so little Shmuel. So Shmuel Hakatan Omer, Nipol Oyivcha, okay, B'nfol Oyivcha al tismach. Don't be at the fall of your enemy. Do not rejoice. V'kashlu al yagel libecha. And if he stumbles, do not let your heart be glad. Do not let your heart be glad. Now, interestingly enough, many versions of Pirkei Avot don't include the next line. In fact, I think that your edition in uh, I think it doesn't include it. Um, in Safaria, I think does not include it. The next part, which you kind of have to have because this um, this line, if your enemy stumbles, do not rejoice. If he stumbles, let not your heart be glad, is just a quote from the book of Proverbs, right? So there'd be no new information here, right? So it would say that he would quote from the book of Proverbs frequently, um, and he would quote this, which is possible, right? It makes sense that, he might say this, and that would certainly be a nice commentary on the last thing that we heard. Don't try to see, right, your friend at the hour of your disgrace. And he says this applies even to your enemy, right? You shouldn't be, right? You shouldn't be rejoicing if your enemy falls, and you shouldn't be stumbling, right? You shouldn't be, if he stumbles, your heart shouldn't be glad at that. But then he adds this next piece, which I think Safaria does not include, but it's included in most editions of Pirkei Avot. And he says, Pen, Yir- Pen Yireh Adonai, V'yara be'enav, Heshiv me'alav apo. He says, lest God see you, right? That God see you, and he becomes displeased, and he turns his anger from him to you. Turns his anger from him to you. So it's not just that. So if you, it's a that this is something that invokes God's anger. That whatever it was that God was directing at that other person at that moment, right? And you think, ha ha ha, I'm gonna watch this. This is a great show. I'm gonna really enjoy this, right? God sees this, and he sees that you're wishing ill on another being, and he turns it around and he puts it on you instead, right? He puts no rubbernecking, yes, which is what California is famous for this. What do they call them on the
Yeah,
high?
I think all across the United States we're famous for
I don't
this.
know. Yes,
That's the nature of
you'll in
travel.
California be driving on the 405, and this traffic will be stopped. It'll all be everybody is watching one accident, just
That is
slowing
why the
down to
traffic.
watch one accident. But rejoicing over. Remember, this was when Osama bin Laden was killed. I don't know if the the head of the school and I had a debate, a public debate on whether or not we should be rejoicing over the killing of Osama bin Laden, and we each took different sides, and I took the side of no, and he took the side of yes, and we sort of like lined up our sources. This is one of the sources that I lined up, um, that the danger is that the danger is that you become right? You become wicked in the process, right? There's something inherently unhealthy about wanting to see somebody, even somebody who's not good, right? Wanting to see their downfall, getting a pleasure out of it is something which is morally dangerous to you. And so God is going to nip that in the bud because could lead to a lot of other bad things.
It's very relevant with the whole Charlie Kirk thing, just a couple months
Yeah,
ago.
well, yeah, I mean, it was interesting to see, people's reactions to that, um, you know, uh, and that's,
Yeah.
the people, you know, is it healthy if you didn't like somebody, right? If you didn't like somebody, is it really like, do you really want to
You don't need
rejoice
to
over their
assassinate them. It's just fine to
No,
not.
but you also don't have to, celebrate,
Yeah.
their assassinations of a strange response, right? And it's a strange response and it cannot make you a better person. There's just no way that it can make you a better person. So, okay, we're over time. Over time. I talk too much. Thoughts? Any?
I talk too much, so thank you for your listening.
Okay, well, I wish everybody a beautiful day. You should be better to be a tail to lions than than a head to foxes. And good luck to
I do have a
everybody.
question.
And Bezrat Hashem, I'll be back tomorrow
Wait,
for
I think that Rose has a
oh
question.
Rose, you have what? Yes.
So, Kaylin, to your point as well, like the example of the Charlie Kirk thing, my question to you, Avram, is you were saying how like it's certainly not okay, and in my opinion, like morally inappropriate to celebrate death in that way. Is it also then okay to choose not to associate yourself with the types of people who may celebrate someone's death like that? Because, like, I've learned in life that you can't control the behavior of other people. We can only control, like, ourselves and how we choose to behave. So, is it acceptable or appropriate to, in an effort to preserve our own, like, peace and mental health and things, is it
Yeah.
appropriate or acceptable to simply not surround ourselves with people who celebrate someone else's death, even if you don't agree with someone's life perspective?
Yeah, I think listen, I think one of the things that I've learned I guess a little bit over the years is who you hang out with, has a big effect on you. I mean, good and bad. I mean, people are inspiring, people are inspiring, people are comforting, but people also can give us bad ideas and can also like I mean, there's if to be around that. Why would anybody want to be around that? You know, I'm less and less. I'm less and less. I mean, I try to be tolerant. I try to be tolerant of people who have opinions and that I don't share. And I try to listen. And I'm not always good at it, as Roxanne, she'll tell you. I'm not always great at listening, and I'm not always as open maybe as I should be. Um, but I also realize that I have to have my limits, right? You also have to have your limits, and you know, I rejoicing over violence done to other people is beyond my limits. I just can't do it.
I think there's a
I don't
difference
like to be,
between an opinion and a character.
that's right.
In other
Correct.
words, I can I can be tolerant isn't even the right word. I can be accepting that everybody that and be willing to associate with people with different opinions. But if somebody has a character flaw that causes them to rejoice in the death of another person, this to me is a reason to separate myself from them, lest I not be contaminated by it.
Exactly what she said.
Yeah,
Thank you. You said it perfectly. Exactly that. Right. It
thank
is.
you.
Thank you.
I like that's
Thank
the
you.
line. That's the
That was
line.
it.
And I
She got
like
it. She
that.
nailed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That and even if your client is a sex tourist who thinks all Denver women are I'm like, and I really entertained that for a while. Anyway, yeah. I listened for a while, but at least he's in the Philippines now. Anyway, I digress.
Oh
Okay,
my
go on.
gosh.
No,
Okay.
but I really entertained it for a while. You do that. And then you
Yeah.
hear things. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, right. No, listen,
You can hear things
but
that
you
way.
would
That's
not
good
choose,
journalism.
right?
That's
But
good journalism, though.
right.
I'm
Right. But
collecting
you would not
data.
choose necessarily to hang out with that person. And yeah.
I wouldn't go for coffee. No, no,
Yes.
no. Okay.
Good idea. Good idea.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Everybody
Can I?
make good friends. And I will see. I'll be back tomorrow for Duties of the Heart.
A
I hope some of you
very,
will be too.
very scintillating conversation. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
West.
I do my
Can you
best.
guys hear me? Can I say something?
Yes, yes.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say that like the basic message is that not every thought that enters your head needs to come out of your lips. Some stuff sounds a
Touche.
lot, stuff sounds a lot better when you think it, and you don't always need to have an opinion on everything. I mean,
Even good stuff. I mean, I think
yeah,
that's also part of the point is even good stuff. Like you may think like being comforting and all that stuff, maybe that's really good, but maybe the timing is not right. So
yeah. And as for the comforting thing, I agree with you when people die, like when my parents died, and like they died like a few years apart. Like people are really stupid. I'm sorry, but they're really stupid about grief. Like, don't say anything. You don't have to say anything. And oftentimes, I think people is in a grief thing, they say it to comfort themselves because they don't like the silence of
right,
the uncomfortable silence, and they don't want to sit in the presence of somebody who's grieving. And it's like it
right.
becomes a thing that people do to relieve their own
Mm,
like self. And as
yeah,
far as like the Charlie Kirk thing, I remember that people, opening their mouth and flapping their gums and stuff. Like I don't like I wonder how many of those people really actually believed what they say, or if they were just reacting like, because we live in this world where, especially if you're on a social media platform, what is that? Something to elevate yourself. They feel the need to like opine on stuff. And
yeah,
maybe like, we're learning that we don't need to have an opinion. You don't need to say anything. Log off.
yeah, yeah.
Log
I think
off.
that's
Go read a
I,
And
book.
here I am about to sit in the presence with people grieving. So here I
and
go.
I'm about to log off. So okay,
You know,
Okay.
okay, guys. Until
bye.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.